had a dream the night before about driving around Vermont, a small town a few miles from where I live. I was in a car with my sister and suddenly got an agonizing pain in my head that was clouding my vision. A few seconds later, a very angry young girl was in the seat between us. She was partially burned and could only be described as glaring at me. I felt like she was trying to tell me something, but I was in so much pain, I couldn't understand her. I woke up the next morning and kind of brushed it off. I've had dreams like this before. I ended up hearing later that day a 15-year-old girl was murdered in Vermont near an infamously haunted cemetery. She suffered a fatal blow to the head, then was set on fire, but she was only partially burned. Since then, I've had this dream 2 more times. I don't know if she was trying to reach out to me or what. I've had encounters in the past, but none quite this strong. I'm not really sure what to do. I fooled around with some voodoo not thinking that I was real, and 2 years later, something happened. For 3 nights I was visited by what I thought was a young girl in need of help. The first night, wild hallucinations, regular faces turning into creatures, a guy hanging himself from a chandelier, sexually explicit acts, etc. The second night, motion picture of the girl's ordeal of parting with 2 men or who raped and beat her to death. No sound, but color, motion picture style. The third night she manifests with another little girl and points to the ceiling to reveal a slideshow of family photos. She never spoke except what I believe heard coming from my husband snore, "Mama." Yes, my husband was in a deep sleep all 3 nights while I was talking aloud. I was so tired from being up for 3 nights that I began to hear voices in my head, and I realized that there was more than one presence in the house. We set up a video camera and went to the hotel. I was completely freaked out when I realized that in my dreams, the presence was still with me. Still, there was no sound, but each one introduced themselves. When the one girl told me "I hate you," they allowed me to sleep maybe 3 hours that evening, with frequent interruptions of singing through the air vents at the motel. Go back to sleep, sleep, go back to sleep. They said they knew about the video camera and that I was going to get the investigators. When I returned home, I had my husband sleep on one side and my son on the other. Since I had been up for 4 days now with only 3 hours sleep, I was catching a cold and was having coughing fits. I was mocked. It was 12 a.m. and I told my son to drive me to my grandmother's house, and that I didn't know why, but I knew that if I stayed, something bad was going to happen to me. My husband said that just 20 minutes after we left, we had to get up to go see about a loud crash we heard in the kitchen. He said it turned out to be nothing, and he slept that night. During the 40-minute drive to my grandmother's house, I felt like something was in the back seat, and the whole way, I kept saying the Lord's Prayer. After the first 15 minutes, the feeling was gone. My grandmother is a Southern Baptist. Nothing bothered me there, but I was a mess, and my whole family rallied to get me help. I went to 3 doctors who all found nothing physically wrong with me. I ended up with sleeping pills. After a week, my grandmother said that I needed to go home. A Catholic priest blessed our house, but I was still afraid and always felt a presence. My father and his wife visited a week after that and stayed in our room. She is Catholic, and she also heard a person walk down the hallway and stand at the bedroom door several times that evening, but she said her rosary and it stopped. Around 1 a.m. that same evening, downstairs where my husband, my son, and I slept, my son and I both had dreams. In my son's dream, a dark shadow was walking down our stairs, carrying a wine bottle. In my dream, someone unearthed the voodoo doll that I buried 2 years ago by the pond I have in my backyard. That day, my father and his wife were putting a puzzle together in our living room, so I decided to go on the computer to check email. I began to answer someone on the message board at some paranormal site, and there was a loud thump on the wall behind the computer, and then it forced. I was resting my leg up on the table, and it was as if something was pushing the whole table against my leg. I checked with everyone in the house, and everyone thought somebody dropped something heavy or something. I went out to the deck later to smoke, and my dog was sniffing the chair directly across from me and then cowered away. That was the week of April 8th. Since then, I pray, and I pray. I keep a white candle burning the whole time I am at home, and I have crosses in every room. I don't stay home unless she is here. I don't work, so I just drive around. Basically, I have no life, and our house is now up for sale. I've done everything the paranormal website said. Brooms, hazelnuts, dirt to cemetery, everything. Things are getting better, but I know it is still there. There are still rapings here and there. My computer acts up, the dog acts funny, and just last night, I had more sex dreams. What am I dealing with? How do I undo what I have done? Do they want me, or have I just opened up a portal here at the house? Will moving help? Please help me. My husband and son do not get it, and this subject sometimes causes arguments. My husband, who supposedly loves me, sometimes gets cruel with me by teasing me about the boogeyman. This hurts me because he just does not get it. I guess nobody does, but that dark side is frightening. I don't want any part of it, and I never want to go there. I just want my life back. My mother says I need to do whatever is best for me, even if it means leaving my family and moving out on my own. That seems to be my only alternative now. I'm in touch with my Irish heritage, and I recently found out just how in touch I really was. I started having these dreams every night for a week straight about a banshee. I thought someone in my family was going to die. I was very worried. I called around desperately trying to find out who was very sick, but I couldn't find anyone in my family who appeared to be sick or very old. I told my husband and my mother about my dreams, who know that I have premonitions in my dreams anyway, but never dreams about death. 2 nights before my dreams ended, my neighbor, who is Irish as well, came to my home and told me her husband is in the hospital. He had a heart attack that day. She was getting some clothes and stopped by so we could pray for him. That's when the dreams and the reality started to clash together. I didn't want to let her know what I already knew, so I hugged her and told her I would pray for him. The night my dreams stopped, my neighbor's husband passed away. I've had more dreams about death since. I wasn't surprised when I heard of instances of huge tragedies in the past on the news, because I predicted those as well. But I don't think there's anything I can do if I tried to even prevent it. Is that even possible? I'm dumbstruck on how to work on my sixth sense, and I won't be able to do something to help rather than just know. My father passed away on September 23rd, 1998. I was not particularly close to him as he tended to push everyone away. I loved him dearly though. He was dying slowly of emphysema, and my siblings and I had been called to the hospital several times to say goodbye to him, only to find that he was fine the next day. So when my brother called me one morning to say he passed away, it was a shock. I had asked Dad for a favor one day, kind of in jest, but partly seriously too. I asked him to let me know somehow if he could, if he was still around after he died. He promised he would. 2 things happened after he died. The evening of his funeral, my family and I saw the most beautiful exhibition of the Northern Lights ever seen in Wisconsin. We stared at the beautiful sight for quite a long time, and I thought I saw a pattern of an angel in it. I didn't say anything because I thought I was the only one who saw this, but then one of the neighbors spoke up that she saw the angel pattern too. Then everyone else was pointing out the angel pattern. The display of lights went on for hours, and my daughters laid on the grass that night watching it. I suspected it was Dad, telling me he was still there. Then, about a year after he died, I began having dreams where I would see Dad, just grinning at me off in the parameters of the dream. I had this happen for about a month. Then one night, he appeared in a dream and was sitting right in front of me, smiling like he always did. His mouth was moving, but no words were coming out, that I could hear at least. I began crying in my dream and woke up crying and knowing without a doubt that my dad had come to visit me. He left messages that were special to me, my mother, and several of my brothers, which I promptly passed on. These messages gave my family comfort and peace. I've not dreamed about Dad since that time. I truly believe that he came to let me know he is still with us because I asked him to. Thank you, Dad. The encounter that I had was not only involving myself, but at the time, 5-year-old cousin. My family has always been very close. Many things float throughout our family that involve spirituality. For instance, my mother, her aunt, her grandmother, and myself all share the ability to have dreams and thoughts that come true. I've encountered feelings or senses so overwhelming that I've had to go to bed and stay there for fear of something happening, which it usually does. Sometimes this can be a very painful gift. Until this incident, I thought it was just that our family was so close that we'd sort of developed a sixth sense about each other, or we were tuned in with the more spiritual side of our world. I'd always thought it was passed on to the second child of each generation until my then 5-year-old cousin encountered her first contact. My uncle had just bought a new house and was well on his way to accomplishing the American dream. He had a loving wife, a 5-year-old daughter who was very smart, and had a job that he enjoyed, and now their first house. But after a while, things did not seem so perfect. The electricity seemed to be bad and fuses would blow quite often. The sewer began backing up, and a cool draft made for a very noisy house. My uncle worked and worked until everything seemed to be fixed, and that is where the story really begins. My cousin sleeps with her mother and for some reason wasn't used to her new bed, so she slept with her mother. In her mother's bedroom there are 2 other doors. One leads to a very large walk-in closet, the other to a small bedroom that has a stand-up shower among other bathroom fixtures. For some reason the bathroom always stayed real cool no matter how high the heat was. My aunt always slept with the door open to the bathroom in case my cousin needed to use it, or just for a little light to shine in the bedroom so Emily could sleep better. One night Emily woke her mom. She was standing up in the bed, shaking, and as white as a ghost, with a horrified look on her face, just staring at the bathroom. My aunt tried to get her attention, but Emily just kept on staring. Finally, my aunt got out of the bed and turned the light on, at which time Emily finally responded by asking, "Did you see her?" Her mother asked who, and Emily went into great detail describing a young girl in a red coat. She explained that it looked like a soft coat and that the girl had long, shiny hair. The description was very detailed, like she knew her, and things that a normal 5-year-old wouldn't notice. My aunt, a little freaked out, dismissed the occurrence to her as a dream, but took it very seriously. As my aunt drifted back to sleep, she had noticed her clock had been reset, and it stopped around 1 o'clock. The next couple of nights, the same thing happened, and they kept happening until my aunt finally closed the bathroom off, so it was not used anymore. But things didn't stop there. During the summer, I became a live-in nanny for my uncle. I watched my cousin late at night while they worked and slept in a spare bedroom. One night, I was awakened by the presence of 3 beings standing beside my bed. They weren't mean, but nevertheless I was scared. The next morning I woke up and felt extremely good and well rested. Later, during the summer I was awakened up again by another presence in the room, but this time was not a very friendly vibe I received. That spirit was overtaken by an older spirit that had entered the room and turned the recliner across from my bed into an old-fashioned rocking chair. This older spirit began rocking and humming. At this point, I felt very safe and fell back to sleep. Since then, my cousin has slept with her mom, and I've moved in with them. The lights flicker and the electricity in my room does not work at all regardless of what we do to it, but nothing major has happened in a long time. I'm just thinking that now the spirits know we are part of the house, but we still don't use the back bathroom. I was sleeping in my bed and was having a mild bad dream. The content of the dream, though, I can recall perfectly, doesn't really matter. It was a rather silly and incoherent dream, and though the end was nightmarish, it wasn't exactly horror story material. Somehow during the dream, I knew it was a dream. I'm no stranger to bad dreams, and very often I would try to struggle my way out of them. So I struggled to wake up from it. Suddenly, my vision shifted, and I could see the corner of my room, so I knew I was being awake. But that's not all I saw. I also saw a faint profile of an elderly Caucasian man. I'm of Chinese descent, probably wearing glasses, standing next to my bed with an apprehensive look to his face. He appears to be clothed in white. The vision was very faint, and I could not really make out the exact features of his face, but I'm rather sure I do not know this man personally and have never even met him before. I immediately thought he was a spirit, and though I could not move at all at the time, I struggled yet harder to wake up. As I regained control of my body and my vision became less blurred, I also saw an expression of awe on his face. As he vanished, I could literally feel the vibrations of an external force, possibly the very same which paralyzed my body, crumbling down. Shaken by just what happened, and unsure about the nature of his intentions, I calmly and slowly said, "I don't know who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't have anything to do with you, so please leave." I've had many experiences of being paralyzed during sleep, and though I sometimes suspect it's spirit-related, this is by far the most explicit case and the closest thing to an encounter I've had. I'm Buddhist, and as such, I do believe in spirits, and yet I can also honestly say that I do not fear them. I'm just perplexed by his intentions. On one side, I fear that he was trying to prey on me during my most vulnerable time. Chinese people believe that, during one's depression or nightmares, he or she is most vulnerable to ghosts and spirits. Yet on the other hand, because of his seemingly benevolent appearance, curiously, his appearance reminds me of a Catholic priest. I also suspect he was trying to rescue me from my nightmare. I live in a newly built townhouse in the suburbs that has no previous owner, and as far as I know, the land on which it is built had never been home to another residence. As the days go by, I'm becoming more and more inclined to brush off the incident as simply my own hallucination, but the image of this creature, the look on his barely visible face, is still very real to me. On October 2nd, 2004, I gave birth to my daughter who passed away 18 minutes after she was born. The whole time while she was alive, I kept saying to her, "Come on, baby, breathe for mama, cry, do something for mama." But unfortunately, she didn't because of her condition. That night in the hospital, I was having a hard time sleeping. When I finally dozed off, I saw an image in my dreams of my grandfather who had passed when I was 6, both of my great-grandmothers who had passed a few years back, and both my great-grandfathers who passed away before I was born. All I had seen of them were pictures. They were holding Peyton, my daughter, smiling and waving, letting me know she was in good hands. That's not even the weird part. When I finally got back home in Wyoming, I was in my apartment in my bed sleeping. My boyfriend at the time and I got a 2-bedroom apartment and fixed her room up just for her. That night I was sleeping and awoke to my baby crying in the other room. I ran to her room and had forgotten that she had passed away. I broke down crying and held onto her teddy bear that I had bought for her. As I was crying, I felt the tiniest little lips kiss my cheek. It was so cold. I knew that it was her telling me that if she could, she would have cried for me at the hospital. Every once in a while, I'll have dreams of her, letting me know that she is still okay. I've heard a lot of ghost spirit encounters by my friends, but I was not completely convinced. But then I had my encounter. It happened to me in my room as I was sleeping. Around 2 to 3 a.m., I suddenly felt my arms go numb, and I felt like something was pulling from the top of me. I was lying on my back. I opened my eyes and saw a figure with long hair and white clothing, but without a face. Within a second, the figure disappeared in front of my eyes. I was shocked for a few minutes. At first it felt like I was dreaming, but it was so real. I couldn't sleep after that, and I started to say the Lord's Prayer for about 15 minutes, and I finally dozed off. I never told anyone about this experience except one of my friends. This friend of mine has the ability to see spirits, and he communicates with them all of the time. He said he was sure that what I saw wasn't a dream, as he felt like he was dreaming too every time he encountered such situations. I really couldn't understand this, as I have an altar and crosses around the house. I welcome feedback. Is this a dream? Did I really upload? Oh my god. I guess I did upload. Oh my god. Oh my god. What do we do? In a situation where you're the viewer and you have to watch my videos. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you're a new subscriber and you're like, to hell with his videos, and you want to click off of it. Well, just subscribe anyway. Comment below, like it, share it. Because you can share it and then run like the wind. And if you run away, you can be a wild stallion. And the world will be yours. You will conquer the reins of the world. Seriously, think about it. Sharing my videos, you and me together, we can create a dynasty of epic proportions. And if that doesn't make any sense, then share the video anyway. You know what? Nothing in this world makes sense, so why don't we just share this video? It doesn't matter. Like, what do you have to lose? Really, think about it. Think about it, okay? You're gonna share a video to me, you know? You're gonna make me happy and a bunch of other people happy who like my videos. And maybe I'm just egotistical. Maybe I'm narcissistic, and I think everyone loves my videos. But I actually think I'm shitty, so, you know, there. Take that. And there's another outro for you guys. Okay, I love you. I'm just gonna cut out, but remember what I said, because some of that I did mean, actually, because it really helps this channel grow. Anyway, guys, love you, and good night, good morning, whatever it is.